Well, look at this. We are number 2 on a Sunday. Uh, this is a first for both of us. We've never really chatted before, so this is going to be something, boys and girls. This is Sir in the Pot with Don Kincaid. You know what? I'm just going to run with what I wanted to run with originally. This is Sir in the Pot with my very special guest, Jackie G. What's up?
Well, it's Joey G, but thank you, Don. How you doing today?
Uh, I'm fine. We're just having some fun. That's what we do at wrestling. I was
Without a
going to
doubt.
announce you as Joey G, but we got this little thing, Jackie G, if you will, and I thought it'd be fun to announce you as that. I think our friends will get a kick out of that. Uh, Joey G, it's a pleasure having you because you know you're doing this podcast thing you've got going on now. This is a brand new little gig you got going on, so we're going to focus on some of that in a little bit. But I really appreciate you taking the time because you just got done with an interview yourself, and please tell us, the fans, who did you just get done interviewing, my friend?
I just got done interviewing the referee to the stars, Mr. Vinny Lax.
Ooh, us fans, stirring the pot. The wrestling industry, we love some Vinny Lax, baby. We love Vinny Lax. I cannot wait to check that out.
Without
Uh,
a doubt.
uh, I'm sure there was some laughs had between yourself and Mr. Vinny Lax, right?
Oh, there was. So we had a talking about some stuff.
Awesome. Uh, well, I do appreciate your time because we got a lot of stuff going on. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on in your lives. There is no set run time. I run off of by the seam of my ass. There's nothing written.
Okay.
I do get loose with the lips a little bit, so if I drop an F bomb, don't be surprised or so. If you don't want me to swear, just let me know because I mean, hey, you're the guest.
Hey, man, we're all adults, so I don't really
Uh,
care.
okay,
I just
okay.
want to make sure on my end if that's okay. Like,
Oh,
if I.
this is an open forum, my friend. Right here, stirring the pot. We like to be candor and honest and open and just have some fun, like a couple of menches talking wrestling. Uh,
Without a fucking doubt, then. Let's fucking go.
so we met at a Test of Strength show down in Thomaston at Ryder Smokehouse. What a grand time that was, might I add.
Oh,
Uh, but the way I met you is you and a bunch of your cronies, you hang out and you've got these cool little signs. You do this bit over there, your gimmick, if you will. And is there a name to this group that you guys got going on? First off, let's start there.
all right, so it's funny because it's like we kind of have a different group at like different promotions, so it works like
Okay.
that. But if you want to start off with that other group, we regularly attend Northeast Wrestling. Myself, Billy, Simon, as you saw, Terry Duffy, Justin Del Rio. We regularly attend shows at Northeast Wrestling with our signs, and because of the shows at NEW, it's kind of known as the Inzanley Rude section. And as you could tell, I'm rocking an Inzanley Rude shirt right now.
Nice.
Um, the name just came up one day when I was really pushing hard a few last year at early 2000. Oh, wow, I get like the years mixed up now because I still think we're like in 2020. God, not. Um, but I still get the so in 2019 I saw a tag team like called Insanely Rude, RJ Rude and Zane Bernardo, and I was very candid because they really stuck out to me because RJ reminds me a lot of myself, you know,
Oh,
just from the common interest, the common passion for professional wrestling, and we both have a lot of the same love for the same kind of music. You know, he's really into pop punk music. I'm really into pop punk music. He's actually got a band which is really cool called Always Grounded. Shout out to him and his band. They really rock.
yeah, absolutely.
They just released a music video called Caffeine Haze, which is really awesome. I think if you get a chance, Don, you should definitely check them out. Um,
Repeat the name of the band, please, so we can check it out on YouTube.
oh, no, no problem. Always Grounded,
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that.
without a doubt. So we connected with RJ and Zane, me and my crew, because of how awesomely nice they were to us at shows. Like a few of these guys at the NEW shows They would be polite to us. They'd be nice. We would chat up. I remember years ago we were talking. A lot of them were talking with me at a show in Poughkeepsie that I went to, and RJ and Zane just, and I love the rest of those guys without a doubt. RJ and Zane just stood out so much, which is just how super polite they were and so relaxed and down to earth to us that they were at the NEW Arena in Bethany, Connecticut, and it just formed a really good bond with us. And then I said, these guys really deserve a shot to get over. So we made it our personal goal to help really, and they were already popular as it was, but we made it our personal goal to get louder and louder for them every time it goes.
Yes.
Because we've always heard the old saying that the louder the reaction, the more popular you're going to be, the more popular they're going to be, the more exposure they're going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to get a bunch of my friends together, go down to Bethany, and I figured and it was a growing thing because the more of my friends that go down to Bethany and NEW, the more they're getting hooked on Northeast Wrestling, and they're getting to meet these amazing wrestlers at the shows. And we really wanted to get loud as hell. So I was talking to my buddy Will before a show in June 2019, and we were like, how do you think we could really get like blow the roof off this place for these guys? And he's saying, why don't we bring a crap ton of our friends down to Bethany and we just cheer combine our voices together, flood the arena with signs and everything, and let's just see where it goes. And I'm like, that's awesome. Do you think Inzanley Rude has like a fan base name for themselves? And we were kind of like jumping back and forth with ideas. We couldn't think of a good name. And then finally it just came off the top of my tongue. It was like, it's like we got a section of fans, and I'm like, Inzanley Rude section. How about we call ourselves the Inzanley Rude section? So I made a joke to RJ and Zane on their not their combined Instagram. I think it was either RJ or Zane's Instagram. That I hope you guys got a bunch of your foam fingers because we're gonna buy like 8 or 10 of them. And I don't, which I don't know if they took us seriously at first when I said that. Because sometimes I'll say stupid shit on like Facebook.
Did they have them available for you guys?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I said, and they said, hell yeah, let's do it. And like I said, I didn't know if they thought I was serious or not. Got down to the arena. I'm like, all right, man, I hope you got 8 to 10 foam fingers. So I took out, I don't know if I gave him like a $100 bill or if I dropped like 520s. I just threw them on the table. I'm like, here you guys go. Can we get 10 foam fingers? And the look on their faces was like, whoa, holy crap. So they had to take this box out, and I felt bad because they took all 10 of these foam fingers out. They started handing it out to my friends. And my buddy Jimmy, he bought a shirt, and then I bought another shirt, and then my buddy Simon bought a shirt. And then at one point, I remember at that point, I think it was RJ, he just took a handful of his little wristbands, and he's like, here, you guys, here, we'll throw these in here because you're like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think he mentioned something about we just bought them like dinner at Taco Bell or something for the night.
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we created the name the Inzanley Rude section, and it's an ever evolving thing because, the only qualification to be a part of the section is you just got to be a fan of Inzanley Rude, and I guess I took it upon myself to name myself the leader of that because I kind of created it and everything. So we flooded the arena with Inzanley Rude signs, shirts, the foam fingers for when they came down for their entrance, and they were in the opening match. I was a little upset at first because I was like, oh man, they're in the opening match. It's not really fair. And I love it. Like I don't want to like take anything away from their opponents that night either, because I never wanted to say anything bad about the opening match but I figured my friend Jimmy was like, that's not the worst thing because that's when you get the crowd pumping at the beginning, man. Why don't we just get loud as hell? Like, let's push it. Like, let's use our voices. Let's burn out our voices the first night match. And I'm like, well, I mean, I want to go for the whole night, but sure, why not? So when Inzanley Rude came out, we exploded with cheers for them.
Yes.
It was Northeast Wrestling Destiny back in 2019. It's still one of my favorite shows I've ever went to. And we just were getting loud. We were screaming like we're going, Inzane Rude, Inzane Rude. And it literally felt like the echo was so loud. I'm hoping I'm correct with this. I thought I looked at Zane in the ring when he was hearing us scream so loud that he looked over at RJ. And I think I'm hoping I saw that because I don't want to like mistakenly say the wrong things because I love those guys. But I think I saw Zane look over at RJ like, holy shit, like mouth the words, holy
Yes.
shit, these guys are on fire for us tonight.
Yes.
And I think the energy was so loud. I think even their opponents, the Graysons, fed off of it because every time the Graysons tried to say something to us, they got these loud, massive boos. And
Yes.
Daily Rude tried to interact with us, they got these loud cheers. Every time RJ and Zane had like the momentum going, you were hearing loud chants of RJ, RJ, or Zane, Zane, Zane. It was getting so loud. Or when the Graysons took over, it'd be like, you suck. And like the crowd, the chants would get louder and louder. I think one guy from the Graysons got so into it, he literally shouted at my friend Jimmy because he had like a Batman wristband on his arm. And
Oh, okay.
the Graysons are really into like the DC comics with Batman and everything. He's like,
Yeah.
why are you cheering for them? You have a Batman wristband. You could be on my side. And they were getting so loud. It was getting so crazy. The match I felt like stole the show. And that's just my personal opinion. And I felt like the whole event was based around like they were having a number one contender title tournament for that show.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel like that was the best match of the show, just my own personal opinion. Is
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. And I think one of the key moments that got me going during the match was we were getting so crazy loud with these guys, like booing the hell out of the Graysons and cheering the hell out of Inzanley Rude, that at one point I brought a sign to the show that said Inzanley Rude section. Like the rest of my friends, I had like 3 or 4 or 5 signs on there. And as I was getting louder, there was a point where I think it was JP Grayson. He drop kicked RJ, knocked him off the ring off the side of the ring. JP fell. Or was it Tommy? I don't remember. It was one of the Graysons. And when he fell, we were booing so loud that he ran over to me, told me to shut up, snatched my sign, ripped it to pieces, and threw it on RJ. And then he gave me that whole kind of like, like, and I was like, wow, you're a dick. But you know what? It's all part of the gig. Like I understand how it works and everything. And it hasn't also been my first sign rip ever. It's just one of the most intense ones I got because I was into it. But I think that was one of the big matches that got us really hooked on NEW. And like I'm just so happy to see those guys get their due in Northeast Wrestling, winning the tag titles later on. Because like it was 2 months later they got a match against the King's Court. They won the tag titles, and the rest is history. Now they're currently Northeast Wrestling's longest reigning Northeast Wrestling tag team champions. Mm-hmm. Yes, partly because of COVID, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But you know what? I really don't look at it that way because I said either way, you know what? Everybody's affected by it right now. Mm-hmm. So honestly, if you take that away from it, they deserve it in their spots. And I'm so happy to see those guys get their due.
Absolutely. With all of that said, first off, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. That is a beautiful story. And I'm going to feed off of that because first off, I've had this conversation with some promoters and some current champions on Stirring the Pot. Do you feel that there should be asterisks next to a champion, or should it just be a champion is a champion? It doesn't matter what's going on right now. Your time is your time, and there should be no question about it. And I've gotten not one person has said there should be an asterisk because it is what it is, So that's first off, and I'm with you on their tenure is their tenure. You can't change that. Second off, Inzanley Rude, 2 fine young guys, and I want to show you something real quick if I can find them quick enough, which I can right here.
Okay.
I was at an XWA show, and I've been supporting these guys for a while at the NEW shows, and then I would see them at other places, and I'd always have tons of fun with these guys, like so much fun. PAPW, RJ was a champion over there and such, and at an XWA show, every time I wanted to buy a shirt from these guys, they didn't have my size. So they finally had my size, and they were kind enough. One Zane Bernardo hooked me up with a pair of, because he knows that I have a little nephew.
Okay.
So he hooks me up with a a pair of the old Zane Bernardo glasses when they first came out. My nephew's worn them a couple times. I make sure we keep them all nice, obviously. They're not all broken and smashed like a little child would do with them, because we want to keep them nice. But I thought that was a very cool gesture, because you were saying how they were handing you guys the wristbands. But they're very cool like that. If you're cool to the wrestlers, boys and girls, like Joey G's story and what we've just discussed with the glasses and Mr. Zane Bernardo, they are so willing with their time. And I know that their merch is their livelihood and such. But when you do buy merch willingly and you just, you see these, they see you as a recurring fan, they're not afraid to give you some of their stuff when they feel that warm-heartedness. And Joey G is a part of that. There's many others that are out there. Inzanley Rude are really a couple nice guys that I'll always follow forever, because I think they've always done themselves very well.
Without a
And
doubt, John. Like
yeah,
I love RJ and I love Zane so much. Like for the and here's a great thing you're gonna like to hear about. So RJ and Zane have been so good to me at the shows, supporting them everywhere. Um, RJ has also been very good to me, and I love Zane too. Trust me, I talk a lot with RJ on Facebook, and I'm like me and him chat back and forth a lot about things. RJ has helped me in ways outside of NEW that you would never even believe.
wow.
So about a year ago, me and my good friends Kelsey, Will, and Simon, we had a bowling team that we were on called. So we decided we're trying to think of a name for the team, and all of our bowling teams where they were based off wrestling names. Like we'd have in 2017 we had a team called the Hounds of Bowling based off the Shield. You know, we had Final Deletion in 2018 based off of Matt Hardy. You know, and they're always bowling related names. I did a team with Will again at another bowling league. We called it AEB, All Elite Bowling. You know, so we have all these awesome names. We design logos and shirts for the teams. We have little numbers on the back, like a sports team. You know, I know bowling's not really a sport, but for us, it's really been an important part of our lives. And
Yeah.
I hit up RJ at one point because my friend Kelsey and we were kind of bouncing back and forth between names for the
Mhm.
team. And her original name for the team she wanted to do was I'm trying to remember what it was. She wanted to do I think it was a name. She wanted to call it like Living on a Spare. And I was like, and I love Kelsey to death. But my reason against that, and this is something I've made a joke to people about all the time. Even my one of my best friends, I've made the joke about how Living on a Spare is such a overused cliche bowling team name that it's
Oh, is
not
it?
a. Yeah, I've seen it every bowling league I've ever been on. There's always been that one team that's got that name, and I'm like, guys, I like Bon Jovi's music, but come on, like let's something a little
Uh,
bit more creative and original to us.
yeah.
So Kelsey, with me and Kelsey were kind of jumping back and forth between names, and we settled on because we had the hype going from the Insanely Rude from the shows. She suggested Insanely Bowlers. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Mhm.
I wanted to go a little bit something a little more creative. I said, how about is Insanely Rude says, "Hug me, brother," based off of like Drake and Josh. I said, how about "Hug me, Bola," you know? And I guess when we got to the start our first night in the league, I never really because she ended up being captain for the team. We always switch around who we want as a captain.
Mhm.
I guess we never really fully discussed and agreed on things because she wrote us down as Insanely Bowlers, which whatever. I loved it. I appreciated it. So we started off on the league. We would all go to the league with the Insanely Rude shirts just because we didn't have ones. So after a while, we were discussing ideas about how would we want a logo for our team's logos to look for a shirt. And I came up with this just creative idea. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. How about I just ask RJ, see if he would be willing to do it? You know? Because I know RJ works in he has a background in like logo design and everything. If
Mhm.
anybody doesn't know, and let me tell you, anybody watching this, you should if you ever need a great logo, you should hit RJ Root up. He's really great with logo design. He's got a fast turnaround design. He's really easy to work with. Shout out to him. I messaged him on Facebook. I said, "What's the worst that could happen?" He tells me no. You know,
Mhm.
And I always still kind of get a little like, I don't know. There's still a part of me that gets a little shyness factor because
Yes.
I don't want to be like crossing any boundaries where I feel like I'm
Right. The
pushing on it.
the fan wrestler. There's that
Yeah,
line.
yeah. That's why I don't want to ever do that. But like,
Hmm.
so I hit him up. I'm like, hey man, I got a bowling team. We named ourselves the Inzanley Bowlers based off of you guys. We would I would love the honor and privilege if you wouldn't mind like to design our logo for our team. And he's like, absolutely, man, and I appreciate it. Like, and it meant a lot to me that he did that for us. So he asked what kind of idea would we like for our team, and I was like, yeah, you know what? How about this? And I didn't know, I'm not really a good drawer artistically, so I just said, how about like, could we have like the Insanely letters and like a bowling logo underneath? And he said, you know what? I'll come up, or I don't remember how it went exactly, but he spoke to me, and I think he spoke to my friend Kelsey, so we came up with a mutual idea together, and we just formed the team. Actually, I have the shirt still in my closet.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
awesome.
I want to show you guys real quick.
Yeah, please,
I got
please share with us.
I got to go through the 900 t-shirts I got in here.
And they're all and and they're all black, so it's hard to decipher which one is which.
But I found it. I found it. So, but right here, the Insanely Bowlers logo that he created for us,
That
and
is so cool, man.
and as you could see, he took the Insanely off one of his older shirts, and he added this dope, really cool bowling style logo for us. And it is a very prized, I wouldn't say prized, but like it's a very proud thing for me to still have. And
Yeah.
the best part about it is it meant so much to all of us because of how good these guys have been to us. Um, and for us, like even my friend Kelsey, she bowled in a Special Olympics bowling tournament, wearing her shirt at that tournament with my buddy Will, and they actually came in first place in that tournament wearing those shirts. Or I think it was both those shirts. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't attend because I was at work that day. But it was really cool to see that, like that they're all representing those shirts proudly and everything, and it just made me smile so much, and it makes me really happy to do that. And that's once again another reason why I love those guys so much. So getting back to where I was going on with it, RJ actually also designed my logo for Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G for my podcast.
Yes. Matt, RJ, both of those young gentlemen, again, always willing to give their time, gracious with their time, and it doesn't matter really because I've seen them at the shows. May they be together as a tag team or previously to really connecting and making this tag team when they were separate performers. May it be a child, may it be a guy your age, may it be a guy my age, may it be a guy older than me, or a girl, or no matter what. Those two gentlemen will always, always take the time to talk to you, hang out with you, ask you a question. If you're asking them questions, they're going to come back and spend times with their fans. That is something that I've always, always appreciated about those guys. Something else with it, with their time.
Yeah, I love those guys so much for how great they are to everybody and to even myself in general. And that's why I've always had like a really big bond with both of them, And
Mhm.
that sometimes my friend Kelsey jokes that I have a bigger bond with RJ, like I don't want to like put anything past. I think it's just me and him chat a lot more, like even just like outside of this. Which again, I
Right,
don't like I don't want to be like too crossy on the line.
right.
So, but and I love both of them. So there's no knock on Zane. I love Zane too. So I think it's just because I chat a lot more with RJ, people get that
Hmm.
idea. But it
Yeah.
is, you know, um, like they've been so good to me and my crew at shows, on social media and everything, and that's why I love those guys so much. Actually, the greatest thing I think one of my proudest things to this day that I'm really happy that they did let me do. Um, when my friend Kelsey uh, found out she was pregnant with her first child, I was so happy for her. And I came up with the idea during this whole like, crazy time. I wanted to get her daughter when she came into the world. She did come into the world back in September. I wanted to get her in. Like, I've made it clear. Like, Kelsey's made jokes to me that she wants her daughter Dakota to get into professional wrestling, and she has made it clear over and over again because we're all of us and our friends. We're like, sometimes we don't even look at it as like friends. We're like all like family. We're like really close friends that will look at like each other like family. Um, she's told me multiple times, you as her Uncle Joe better take her to her first Northeast Wrestling show over and over again. So I one upped it and I did it one way better. So I got a custom, and with RJ and Zane's approval, I asked them for permission if I could take one of their logos and put it on a one of a kind onesie for her daughter when she was born. And so I wanted to give it as my little welcome to the world gift to Kelsey's daughter Dakota. And there's a funny story behind all that. When I got it made and I had it like I had her address, like I put it in her address for it to be delivered straight to her house because I wasn't gonna be able to go anywhere during the time. Um, Funny thing was, it got to her house and I'm just waiting all day on Facebook and Messenger. I'm like, I can't wait to see what she says about it. And
Yeah.
I never got a response on it. So I'm like, what's going on? 2 days go by. I'm like, still got no response because the packaging said it's there. So I hit her up. I was like, hey, I got something for your daughter, but did you not get it? And she's like, I never got anything from you. I'm like, what are you talking about? So funny story with that. When it arrived at her house, her mom grabbed it. And
Oh.
her mom grabbed it and assumed that it was a Father's Day gift for her boyfriend. And I was like, but why would I be getting a Father's Day gift for your boyfriend James? Like that I was laughing about it. I thought it was hilarious. So when she finally found it, I was sitting there saying in my head, I'm like, well, I hope she enjoys it. I hope she doesn't find it stupid or anything. I thought it would be awesome. And next thing I know, I get a photo message in my messenger, and all I get is a LOL, and I get laugh face, cry face, laugh face, cry face, and I'm all confused. I'm like, did I just upset you with this? And she starts sending me like 10 cry face emojis. I'm like, oh man, this can't be good. And the next thing I know, I'm like, oh my God, I love this. This is so special. I'm crying because Dakota's gonna love this and Dakota's gonna love you and everything. And I'm like, and I said, RJ and Zane gave me permission to use their logo for that because I didn't want to just go and like do it without them because I'm like, man, they've been so good to me. That would be so messed up if I just did it without asking them. So
Well, and plus you have that kind of relationship with, where you can at least reach out and ask, because a lot of the wrestlers, as long as you've made that connection somewhere along the line, it's usually pretty okay to reach out and, if you want to ask something like that or whatever, and they're pretty open to it because I mean, you're pushing their brand on your beautiful little niece. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
there you go. So yeah, like I said, Inzanley Rude, they've always been really big favorites of mine. And I think
Awesome.
just from the bond that we've had. But going back to your original question, when it comes to Test of Strength, now we met obviously, as you were saying, at Test of Strength show
Hmm.
back in September. And like I said, this was literally Test of Strength was my first show back after COVID began and everything. So I was really stoked because I was going nuts sitting at home, not being able to go to shows because I was just a regular at NEW. And the thing was, this is where I'm so glad I went to the Test of Strength. I didn't know anything outside of Northeast Wrestling when it came to independent pro wrestling. I pushed NEW to the moon, and I
Okay.
still love them to death. It's not that I wasn't willing to give any other promotions a chance. It's just I didn't know of any other promotions at the time. So it
Okay.
was kind of difficult for me to kind of like figure out, well, what's within distance that would work with me. Because I know people that travel from like New York, because I live in New York. I know people travel to New York, to New Jersey, to Connecticut, to Rhode Island, to Maine, and back. And I'm like, man, I can't drive that much. Like, I don't even like
Hmm.
driving. I don't even like driving down my street or to. Um,
Yeah, I've done the 2 hour gigs for quite a long time. I was doing like a tri-state thing. I would go to like 15 shows a month. I was doing some pretty good traveling. Um, so staying right there, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm very curious. How did you come across Test of Strength?
All right, this is a pretty simple story. Um, I got another friend that I met through Northeast Wrestling at the NEW Arena. His name is Tony Douglas, or his name's Anthony, but I call him Tony Douglas. It's
Okay.
just how his message name is. And Tony, I really want to say Anthony, but I'm so used to calling him Tony. Tony hit me up one day in the middle of August. It was fresh past my birthday, and he said, "Hey, there's a wrestling show going on in Thompson, Connecticut for this promotion called Test of Strength." And I'm like, "Test of Strength? What is that?" And I thought he was messing with me at first because I didn't really know anything else.
Yeah.
And at first I was kind of like a little iffy. So still a little bit uncomfortable with things going with how COVID is and just everything. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. I'll let you know. I'll get back to you. And then as
Right.
time was moving forward, I was like, you know what? Like, I didn't know anything about Northeast wrestling, and then I dove right into that. And now I've been so like committed to that. So I said, you know what? I hit up my buddy Billy, who regularly goes to show. Billy's my road buddy. He goes to every show with me now. He's the one guaranteed one I know who will go with me more anything. And the funniest part about Billy is he had no clue, had no love for wrestling at all back in like last April. Or I
Oh
keep saying
wow.
last April, thinking 2019 is last year. That's how like messed up this made. Billy used to have a negative look on professional wrestling for a while because he never knew the true nature of it.
Hmm.
And I kind of, he was supposed to go with me to several shows and he would always turn me down last minute the day of it. I'll be like, man, you're starting to annoy me with this. So one day I literally just said, can you please just give a show a chance?
Hmm.
He went with me to the NEW arena for, I think Spring Slam back in 2019. He's been hooked ever since. And he
Awesome.
completely changed his mindset on professional wrestling. So going forward, I hit Billy up about it. And his first thing he says in my mind is, I don't know, man. I feel like we'll be betraying NEW if we go to a show outside of Northeast Wrestling. I said, dude, why don't we give it a shot? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know anybody from Test of Strength. I'm like, but you didn't know anybody from Northeast Wrestling either.
That's right.
And he's like, you know what? Screw it. Let's go. And like, what drew me right away was when I looked at the card was the Stepdads. They were originally supposed to be at that August show.
Hmm.
And heard the Stepdads were there. I was like, all right, that's my reason to go. Because I had been looking up the Stepdads on YouTube. Because a funny story, going back to Inzanley Rude, I was looking up for more stuff for Inzanley Rude. Because once I get hooked on something, I want to like immerse myself in everything about it. So I was looking up Inzanley Rude on YouTube. And then I accidentally found the Stepdads on YouTube. There was a TIW match on YouTube, which involved the Stepdads and Inzanley Rude. I'm like, who are the Stepdads? What the hell are these guys? And I all the loves of the Stepdads. At the time, I had no idea. I thought the name was like, I hope they don't get upset by me saying this. I don't think they will, but I thought it was such a goofy name at the beginning. But I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? Let me see these guys. And then they were coming out to the Full House theme mixed with that The Stroke by Billy Squire. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys are awesome. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't want to like, I remember I think I had a conversation with them a while back. And I love those guys to death. And going forward, they were going to be my reason to go. Long story short, we didn't end up going to the show in August because I had a last minute thing going on with my sister. She was graduating. She was getting ready to leave for college, and I didn't want to like miss that. So it was like kind of like I thought we were gonna have a going away to college party, and then
Hmm.
she never ended up going because of COVID. So she's been taking. I think she's been taking all her classes at home. So it kind of worked out in the end. I was kind of bummed, but that family orient kind of had to come first for me.
Yeah.
Luckily, and I feel like it was almost destiny. I think the Stepdads had to pull out, and I'm not glad that Radley got like something happened with him. Of course, with his health, I'm so happy he got to take care of that.
Right.
Fortunately, he wasn't able to go for the show either, so the Stepdad didn't make the show, which worked out in the long run because the following show in September was when we went to our first Test of Strength show.
Hmm.
Um, and that was my first show back going to a wrestling show. I was nervous, but at the same time, I was amped and I was excited. And so I spent, because since I took a break from doing all those things with the signs and everything, and I've always been known to bring signs to shows, whether it be at like a
Okay.
WWE event, AEW event. I've never been to AEW, but I would, or Northeast Wrestling show. I was like, it doesn't matter how many like people are at the arena, I'm gonna bring a sign regardless. It's a part of wrestling, you know. Signs are a part of wrestling. It gets you amped, it gets a crowd going, and it's fun. Um, when I showed up at Test of Strength, I was kind of anxious and nervous because we pulled up to the Riders Smokehouse Bar and Grill, and I picked up Justin Del Rio from that show for that show because I
Yeah.
hit him up about it, and I didn't know that I picked him up for that show because it was our first show together. I was like, screw it, let's go all together. We haven't seen a lot of us from the NEW arena for a long time. Let's all reconnect and have some fun again. Like, let's
Yeah.
forget about all the other BS going on in the world right now. And that's
That's
what I
right.
love about wrestling. It helps forget all that BS.
Mhm.
We met up, we grabbed some Taco Bell before the show, and then we hit up. We made it to Riders, and when I pulled up there, I'm not gonna lie, I got nervous because I realized it was like a slash motorcycle like club.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh boy, what did we get ourselves into? But I was also excited because, hey, I get to go to my first Test of Strength show. So these guys, I think, so I'm pretty sure you've been to a bunch of them, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So for us, it was our first gig with Test of
Well,
Strength. So
well, the thing was, it's so much different than the element you're used to going because for those that don't know, the Northeast Wrestling shows, like he said, is at the NEW Arena. It's at the Bethany Town Hall. So you go there and it's their gymnasium or something, if you will, of some kind that they utilize. And it holds about 250 people, I want to say, around there. And that's where they have pretty much that's their home base, if you will. And they have very like most of their shows are there until it gets to the summer. Then they do a lot of outdoor stadium stuff and whatnot.
the Stars tours, so they'll be at
Yep.
in like baseball minor league stadiums, and
Right.
even in I think their biggest shows usually will be at the Mid Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie,
Yep.
New York, and Six Flags Great Adventure. They'll do their Six Flags Slam Fest.
So they do all of that stuff. So going away from the Northeast Arena being the Bethany Town Hall and then going to Thomaston, Connecticut and rolling up onto a motorcycle club. and not to take anything away from age factor, but you're a younger guy and you pull up to this thing, you're like, oh, fuck. What did I just pull up into?
That's what I'm saying. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna give this thing a shot, like because we're all there for the same reason, wrestling.
Oh,
And
exactly.
we were sitting there thinking, are we gonna run into anybody familiar? So
Mhm.
our original reason to go was for the Stepdads, but then when they started announcing Wrecking Ball and Trayvon Jordan,
Mhm.
we were getting that feel of Northeast wrestling again, so it was kind of making us feel a little bit more warm. And then
Nice.
when they announced Jared, my grin. I was hanging out with Billy watching AEW one night at his house, and then I got the notification that Jared was going to be at the show, and I looked over at Billy, and I just got this like, what are you grinning about? Like, yo, remember that Test of Strength show I was telling you? He's like, yeah, Jared's going to be there, and he's like, oh snap, here we go.
Yeah. Yes.
So we were really stoked about that going forward, and then we get to the show. Waiting on the line was what was driving us nuts because it felt like an eternity.
Mhm.
And I didn't know who half these guys were, but the ones I did know, I was willing to give a shot. Justin, I knew about a few of them because Justin Del Rio, shout out to him and his Nerds of Wrestling and What's Up Wrestler, his podcast.
What's up?
I love Justin. A few of these guys I've heard about from his podcast.
Okay.
So I had an idea on some of them, but I wasn't like completely aware who they were. Like Alec Price, which I know you and you and him have a weird history. Alec Price, um, but I knew that for a fact that this was going to be fun, getting to know a little bit more of these guys, see how they operate and how it works.
Mhm.
When we finally got inside, when we went through, my nerves went to excitement, and because this was a whole new ball game for me.
Oh yeah.
It's like if you're a baseball fan, like I'm a massive Yankees fan, as you can tell, and let's say you're a Yankees fan that goes only to Yankee games, and then you go to a Mets game at like Citi Field or something. That's how I looked at it. Like, oh, well, this is a
Okay.
whole new ballpark.
Mhm.
And it got like a little rush of NEW right as soon as I walked through the first door and I saw Jared. I sit there, I see Jared. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yes.
Here it goes all over again because since 2018, me and Jared have had a hilarious history at all the NEW shows because it's been nothing but back and forth chaos between me and him at the shows. But I think I love Jared for the simple fact that we work off each other so well at the shows. I bust his balls, he busts my balls. He'll rip up my sign. He'll call me a middle classer. So I think just seeing Jared at the front door as soon as I was walking, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh god, here we. I know it's been a while since he was ripping into me, and he said, "Oh, great! Who let these guys in the door? You followed me from Bethany over to here." And he starts
Yes.
like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nice to see you, Jared. You know, it's been a while." And it was nice. But then we also got into a more cool conversation, me and Jared, as we're waiting at the door. We were like, and we started talking about things, how life has been affected since the COVID, everything. And it was nice to have that small conversation, even though he's a rich,
It's a pain in the ass.
the craft trust bird. Um, but it was nice to have that convo. And as going forward, the whole new setup was different for us because the ring was cool. Just seeing the ring was awesome. And I didn't know how the seating worked at Test of Strength. When I found out you just sat wherever, and I don't know how other shows would go, but knowing that we just sat wherever in the Riders Bar and Grill was nice because then, so we're like, oh, so I spotted my friend Tony Douglas. We sat over there. Then what I kind of noticed was all of us from the NEW guys would all just sit together at one table. It's almost like you can't sit with us because we're Northeast Wrestling guys. It was a joke. Like, of course, I'm never that way with fans or anybody else because I'm always trying to be like one of the most nicest people at the shows. But and that's not how I look at things. Because like I'm actually quite shy until people start to get to know me a little bit better. Then I can't shut the hell up. I think I.
So
Oh, God, sorry.
you guys seem to have a really good time at the Test of Strength shows. That was a little bit out of their norm. First off, that was kind of, they were just coming into this place. This is a new venue for them, because this is something they haven't done before. Well, uh, I'll revise that and say that was their second year of trying something new, because they've always had these smaller, very intimate shows at their dojo in East Hartford. Now pay attention, my friend. When things get back to semi-normal, they're going to start coming back. They're called training days, okay?
Okay.
It's in a very small, intimate setting. There's about 20, maybe 30 chairs at best, okay?
All right.
And we all get in there. They have about five, six, 7 matches, and it's for free on a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m.
Whoa.
They've been doing this for a good few years now, okay? But so they've kind of brought in their wings, and they've taken it on the road. They call them the road shows. I like to call them the Test of Strength pay-per-views because they're the bigger shows, if you will.
See, that I did not know. And I'm actually
Yeah.
really happy because me and Billy were joking about, we thought that this was their regular, we honestly thought Riders was their regular spot, like their version of the
Yeah.
NEW arena. So that is crazy. I had no idea about that. So that is cool.
They've been testing the waters with the road shows at different venues. One being a music venue where they had a band jamming Crossing Rubicon live in their stage. And then they got that stuff out. Then they brought in the wrestling. That was really cool.
I was going to say, that's perfect because I really should let RJ know about that with his band because I'm pretty sure he would actually. So because he's trying to get a lot of exposure for Always Grounded. So wow, this is all new to me, and I'm really excited hearing that because me being a massive wrestling fan.
Absolutely, man. Because you know what? It seems it's just like, and I'll give you the NEW thing because it's like the WWE fans. WWE fans only watch WWE, and I know that they know there's more stuff out there, but they don't watch it. They don't care to look in those directions, or for whatever reason there is. So WWE is their gig, and that's what they know. And if you name any other wrestler out of the WWE, they have no effing clue. So this is the same exact setup. You guys that are going to NEW regularly, that are going there for NEW specifically, and don't know what's kind of surrounding you. And I know you're from New York, but Test of Strength is something that's a really fun organization that you guys is right up your alley if you're interested on returning and recurring fandom at Test of Strength. I think you guys would be fun over there.
Without a doubt, because like just from like there's some new favorites that we enjoyed over there now at Test of Strength. Like we become fans of some new guys over there, which is what I was trying to push to my buddy Billy, because he gets a little close-minded himself. Like I've always been open to all promotions wrestling since I was like 9 or 10, I think. I don't remember, because I would watch WWF during the Monday Night Wars, and I'd also watch WCW. So I'm open to all promotions and everything. It's just when they got rid of WCW and ECW back then, all I knew was the WWF, so it was kind of hard for me to be interested. And like at times it would be frustrating because like they only come around New York not so often for me. So I always looked for something where I could go a lot more often, and I wish I knew about Northeast Wrestling and all these indie promotions a lot sooner than I did, you know? But going forward, yes, we were, like I said, my original reason to go was for the Stepdads. So that was my first like push for me. But like Wrecking Ball, Trayvon, and Jared going to the shows as well, that was an added bonus for us. That was like sprinkles on ice cream for us. You know? But I've gained some new favorites just from coming to Test of Strength too. Like I really like Mike Skyrose.
Nice.
My son. I like Alex Price. I love Alex Price. He's like literally my favorite heel there.
Hold on a sec. Don't call him Alex. It's Alec with a C.
Alec. I'm sorry. I don't want him to do to me what he wants to do to you. So
you're gonna get heat. Believe me. If he ends up seeing this or getting word, you're getting heat.
Alec, I love you to death. I plan on buying one of your shirts. So
some more of your favorites.
I love obviously the Stepdads were one. Alec Price. I'm sorry, the name kind of slips off the tongue sometimes. Alec Price. I love the Nightcrawlers. They were really cool. You know, they were really chill with us at the last show. How they were constantly interacting back and forth with me and Billy. So I've kind of figured out who's the massively most hated heels there after 2 shows. Obviously, I could tell the Firm isn't too popular. So I could tell they're a bit jerkish. I was making a Carrot Top chant to the one with the orange hair. I keep forgetting his name.
Richard E. Stone Esquire.
Yes. Richard E. Stone Esquire. I was screaming Carrot Top to him. So
we like to call him Smurf. It really pisses him off.
Smurf. I'll remember that. I'll make a sign just for that.
Yes.
So now that I have a better idea of a lot of these guys, they've become favorites on mine too. Like I love heckling Ryan Frost though at those shows.
Yeah, we do too. We do too.
Because Frost had me dying laughing on a fan basis because they were teaming up with I think Johnny Santos at the last show to take on the Stepdads and Bobby Ocean.
Yeah.
And what I enjoyed about it was they were coming down because I think they're starting to get aware of like the Stepdad Squad. For those who don't know, our group at Test of Strength is called the Stepdad Squad, which I never answered Don's original question at the beginning.
That's okay. Keep it going. That's okay. Keep it going.
No, but we assembled the Stepdad Squad with our colorful signs and everything. And I'm sitting there thinking, some mean looking dudes, because the first show we were sitting at a picnic table on the side in September. The second show we were like literally right up at the side of the ring right there. And I'm sitting there saying there's barely any room between the ring and this picnic table. Just sitting there saying, oh Lord, we're gonna get fucked with so bad. I'm all for it. I think I personally liked Halloween Throwdown a lot more than Fight for Your Dreams, just on a personal like fan level, because of how much more interaction there was between us. What I was dying laughing about was it was the third match in with Stepdads and Bobby Ocean versus Johnny Santos and Cold Cash. And when I saw those guys from Cold Cash and Johnny Santos come down, they're looking at us, just staring down at us with our boos, and they see their Stepdad Squad signs. And I'm sitting there. I look over at my buddy Billy. I'm like, one of our signs is getting torn to shit right now. Guaranteed. And they're like, I don't know, man. They look pretty fucking tough. And I'm like, I don't know, man, but that bald dude scares the shit out of me sometimes. Just the way he with his cold expression, Ryan Frost.
Yes.
And next thing I know, he slaps my sign. I don't know if it was my sign or Billy with that fucking kendo stick.
Yeah.
And he scared the shit out of my boy Simon when he did that. And TJ Howell, I hope I said that correctly. I don't really care.
You did.
He looks like
the third.
TJ Howell the third, that rich bitch. I don't really like him. I hate rich people. I mean, not because they've got success for themselves, just when they come off cocky and arrogant, I really hate them.
Yes.
It's been a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
When he comes by, we turn around, we're looking to figure out where he went. So Ryan Frost grabs my buddy's sign, he rips it and then starts wiping his ass with it. Then I don't know where the other dude goes. TJ comes up behind us, standing on the table. He stands behind my buddy Billy. I'm just looking up at him. Me and my buddy Simon were just holding the signs in his face. He snagged my friend Billy's sign, and he just tears it right in front of the Stepdads. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, whoa. I really hate these guys. I think I hate them more than I hate the firm. You know? I don't know if you guys who regularly attend Test of Strength, who's more dicks in this case, but I think I hate them more than I hate the firm, just from experience right there.
Well, the firm are usually the bigger dicks of the bunch because there's 4 of them, but Cold Cash equally, with just the 2 of them, are as big as dicks, if you will.
I got you. Okay, and we got confused at the first show we ever went to because they had that combo match where they teamed up with the firm. So me and Billy we thought they were all members of the same group, so which got us all thrown off at the beginning. So once we saw them separated, oh, okay, they're a different bunch of guys. So all right, they're not all connected. They just did it for that match. But it was the firm at that show that has me dying laughing. Because if anybody knows me from Northeast Wrestling, the reason why I have NEW Sign Guy on my Instagram, my Twitter, on my TikTok, and even my Facebook is because I am known as the sign guy of Northeast Wrestling. I'm the one that brings the signs to the shows, and I have the most misfortune of my signs 95% of the time getting torn to shreds. Most of the time, that trust fund jerk bag Jared Silver fight. Sometimes by the King's Court at NEW. But yes, they all suck. But so with this new venue and new arena, I was kind of hoping to be all right, I'm hoping maybe I can get some sign rips over here because I know it sounds weird, but I get really excited as a fan when my signs get torn to shreds. And when those wrestlers give interaction with the fans and they mess with them at the shows, it really makes me happy because it really makes me feel like I'm part of the show, which is what hooked me to Northeast Wrestling in the beginning. So going forward, I always load up with signs going to shows. And at the beginning, it was just 1 or 2 signs. But as I was getting more and more sign rips, I would go to Rite Aid and I'd stock up on signs, stockpile on signs. The best part about my job where I work at now, they have a warehouse full of so much cardboard that they throw away that I almost feel like I got a gold mine of signs there. I was at work that weekend before the show, and I saw this giant ass cardboard square that they put down on the pallets at my job, and I'm looking there and I'm thinking, oh, I gotta steal that. I gotta take that. I gotta take it. I gotta make a sign out of it. Probably the most work I've ever done making a sign. And I was like, who would I know would rip this to shreds? I'm like, of course, I'm gonna drive Jared nuts with this big ass sign because I'm going for the biggest sign rip ever. Now, I know I'm not the sign guy of Test of Strength. I actually see that there's a family there of sign guys.
There is. They're relatively new. He's been starting to come around, and he is so much fun with his little children. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. I've seen him. You mentioned him on your Facebook page and your Twitter. I think I might have even met him at an NEW show back in January last year because I think him and his child brought an Inzanley Rude sign, and I wanted to meet up and link up with him a little bit and chat. So we chatted a little bit. And I'm saying,
Okay.
yo, it'd be awesome to see you at more shows and everything. And then I guess I don't think I've ever seen him again since. But he's really chill. I like him and his kids, like being so
Yeah.
passionate about wrestling, and I love that. So
So
going
much
forward,
fun.
that same show, I was kind of upset when Cold Cash didn't rip my sign. They just smacked my sign, and I'm like, oh, come on, man. So I'm getting like a little frustrated. I'm like, I brought this big ass sign, so I'm thinking clearly Jared's gonna see my sign with our history. He's gonna mess with me. He's gonna tear it to shreds. Funniest thing, when Jared grabbed my big ass cardboard trust fund sucks sign, he snagged it, and I started I think he had trouble ripping it because cardboard's a little bit
Yep.
harder to rip like like the paper stuff that I have
Yeah.
for my signs. And he got frustrated with it, I think, and he threw it out. He threw it out the ring, and it hit a fan. And I'm sitting there saying, "Oh no!" And I felt so bad for the fan. I apologized to him like 5 times because I felt like that was they were cool about it. The very next match with Alex Price. See, I'm trying not to say Alex Price. I'm saying Alex Price. Alec, please don't hurt me for this. Uh, I was sitting there saying, please, for the love of God, if you don't rip my sign up, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had a sign that said, the price is wrong, which is so cheesy and stupid, but I figured it got to be something that drives him nuts.
It works, yes.
Alec Price became one of my favorites that night. In a match, I honestly, personally, in my humble, honest opinion, I feel like that was the match of the night at Halloween Throwdown was Alec Price versus Mike Skyrose. Because Price messed with me and my crew so much during that match.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
On a personal fan level. He climbed over, like he didn't climb over. He goes up to the side where we are sitting. He hangs on the ropes. He's staring down at us. Snatches my sign, runs up to the other side of the ring, and he rips it to pieces on the other side of the turnbuckle. Then he runs back over, rips it more, and he flings it at me. Now, that's not the part that got me going the most. So I was happy for that because, like, oh, thank God, finally. So I got that under my belt. I don't have to worry in the future because I didn't want there to be like a jinx on me when it comes to that. So Price, he so this you couldn't see because I saw the recordings of it, and unfortunately, I don't think they caught this on camera. This is what got me really going and really liking it. So there's a part where Price was walking around the ring, and I saw him. I always have my hats forward at the shows, like that. This is just a habit where I wear it backwards when I'm not like out anywhere. But at the show, he's coming around the ring. He comes up and he looks at me with my hat forward. And I'm like, whoa. Now that, I'm like, I hadn't had one of those happen to me like ever. Actually, that's wrong. I had another person do that to me one time back at an NEW show. I think it was Christian Casanova. And I found it funny. And I was like, wow, why is it people from Boston are the ones that seem to do that only to me? I swear it's a New York Yankees thing. So going so much through that match, and I think he felt the heat that we were giving him the whole time, screaming, Price, you suck, blah, 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 blah. We were all clearly behind Skyrose. What I found that my favorite part, though, comes from a point where he drops Skyrose, and he just staring at us as we're booing the shit out of him. He just looks at us dead in the eyes, and he starts flipping us all off. And I'm like, oh, and we're just off back, and I'm just having Price and Skyrose brought so much energy to that match, and that was my favorite that right now is currently my favorite test of strength match I've ever seen.
Awesome. The way you're describing the setting, the matches, the ambiance, your friends, everything around you, the way you're describing it, Jackie G, I'm telling you, you've got some passion as a wrestling fan, and I really love everything yourself, your Goombas are bringing to the table. obviously it's not just that test of strength. You've gone. Now I was going to Northeast Wrestling regularly. I kind of fell off that train a little bit and started doing some other promotions because I was traveling more often than not. So we never met at the NEW arena.
It's
But I
ironic.
love, yeah, it's crazy. I know. I don't know how, but I love the passion and the energy that you and your friends are bringing to these shows, because that's what, I don't bring signs or such or whatever, but
That's
I
fine.
still bring my fandom in my way. As long as you bring fandom to the arena, to the events, that's all those boys and girls in the ring are looking for, man. Just something, a spark from a little bit of spark from all of us. They love it all, man. So you guys are really doing a bang up job out there.
Appreciate it.
We've had this huge hour right here of talking to Jackie G about everything, the fandom and his friends and such, and we never even got a chance to talk about his podcast. And there's no way that I'm letting him leave here, because that's what we like to do on this show, is push our friends, support our friends, uh, and get to know what else they got going on. So before I do let you go,
Okay.
let's dive into your podcast. What's it called? Why did you get it started? Because it's a very recent project, if I'm not mistaken. The name, why, and do you have a partner, or are you just running solo?
All right. So here's how it started, and here's the name of the podcast is called the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G.
Oh,
Not
Joey,
Jack.
my bad.
But thank you. But how it started going, I originally, after when COVID started, I got inspired by my buddy Justin Del Rio, because he did What's Up Wrestler, and I was like, I could do that. And I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't understand how the podcast game worked, as much. So I listened, I took notes from Justin, and it was Justin Del Rio with What's Up Wrestler and Big Bacon Brad Hollister with his podcast What's Sizzling, that got me going. And I was never really a podcast guy until I started listening to them, and I wanted to do my own at that. Coming up with a name was a pain in the ass at the beginning, because all I was really known for doing, besides sign rips, was being a bowler at bowling alleys. So my original name wasn't Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. My original name was going to be Pinfalls and Pins That Fall. But like, for me, I was like, it's doable, but I don't know if I really want to go with that. And I was kind of catchy of it. And then for a while, with COVID going crazy and everything, I'm an essential worker during that time, so I kind of lost track of doing it. So I kind of shelved it for a little bit. As the year was going, I was trying to figure out a way and a name to do it, and I was like, Justin hit me up. We were chatting live during WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and in the process, he had his buddy Ben on the video chat with us, and he said, "Did you ever come up with a name for it yet?" And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm still just, So Justin pops in, and he's like, "Yeah, Joe's the sign guy of Northeast Wrestling. He's got the unfortunate misfortune of his signs getting ripped up." And I'm like, "Yeah, the sign guy." It's like, I could be the sign rip. And I'm like, that's it. The light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, the Sign Rip Podcast. And I added the Joey G part more as like a tribute to my best friend, Ari.
Okay.
My best friend, Ari, he's got special needs. And he, back in high school, there wasn't really a lot of friends with people in the high school. A lot of them made fun of him, but he didn't understand why they made fun of him, because he's got special needs. He's been one of my best friends forever, and he always called me Joey G or Joe G, because that was the name he always remembered me by. I think he may or may have not. I remember he said he had a bike accident, and that's what caused him a lot more, like some brain damage, unfortunately. It's a sad story, but it's more homage to him, because he always called me Joey G, and that was one of the first things I remember him saying after he came out of his bike accident, was calling me Joe G or Joey G. So that's kind of a little bit of a homage to Ari, my best friend.
Nice.
The podcast came about where I kind of shelved it a little bit, but after going to the Test of Strength show that I mentioned before, and even going to Invictus Pro Wrestling's first show, I got that itch, that spark, that a addiction to wrestling again. And I've always loved wrestling, and it was driving me nuts not to be able to go to a show. I was like, I want to do this. I'm gonna put forward some faith in it. I started researching ways to how to do podcasts and everything. I found Anchor through Justin Del Rio. I started working things together. I was typing down ideas, names. I'm like, all right, this is cool, but I want to get a logo. And I said to myself, once I get a logo designed, that's when I'm going to put full force into it. So I sporadically hit up RJ Rude. He designed my logo, as I mentioned before. I was like, let's do this. And then after I got the logo designed, I put forward into putting everything together. I designed the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram. I was like, let's freaking go. Let's do this stuff.
Nice.
You know? And going forward, I was like, who do I want to be my first guests? And it ended up being Inzanley Rude, because I felt like for everything they've done to me, I'd feel weird if I didn't ask them. But going forward, that's what got me going into wanting to do my podcast, Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. You could find it on Anchor. You can find it on Spotify and all these other listening platforms that I probably won't remember to name off. If you want to follow it on Facebook, it's literally Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. On Facebook. On Instagram, it's a little different. It's Sign Rip with Joey G. I think you could find it on there. On Twitter, it's the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. It's on all those platforms. It's a great. I try to do my best on it. I'm still fresh and new to it. I've got 6 episodes. I've so far interviewed Inzanley Rude, upcoming guy named Gio Galvano, the Stepdads, Brett Ryan Goslin, Invictus wrestling promoter Alex Acita, and now I just finished interviewing referee Vinny Lax. I'm hoping to have other guys on the podcast in the future, but yeah. So if you want to follow me, those are the areas to follow me on.
Now, when you're doing your podcast with your guests, are you looking to kind of pull their backstory out, or what's your kind of format? What are you doing on there?
Well, first off, I started off with introducing themselves. I let them introduce themselves, tell the people who they are, and then I jokingly go into if there's been any like interaction with me when it comes to my signs or sign rips.
Okay.
I've actually yet to have anybody who's actually ripped my sign on my podcast yet. There are some names that will be dropping in the future, but I don't really like to reveal the names until I reveal it on the post on everything. I don't really like to spoil anything. Initially, one of the great so I'll ask them their names, what got them, what they've been up to lately, like if they're watching, what they're watching, or what they're doing with their free time, if they're not wrestling right now, or what they've been going through, or whatever, anything. I'll ask them how they got into professional wrestling, how they got trained, who trained them, what's the backstory on what led them to into wrestling, like as a fan. Then I'll go into moments that stood out with them in wrestling that they've been doing. And then I'll go into a Q&A, question and answer form with people. I always drop things like, hey, what do you want me to ask these guys? I always push for that the most because I start to run out of things in the conversation and I'll go right to that.
Right.
And I don't want to feel awkward doing that. So I push for people to ask questions to like these guys. And then on top of it, and then I'll let them drop some social media plugs and everything, What I love about the fact, though, that going back to, thanks to my podcast and thanks to seeing all these other promotions in independent pro wrestling, it has given me more names to work with. I want
Absolutely.
to. Yep. There are some names from Test of Strength that I have hit up that will be appearing in the future.
Awesome.
I'm not going to drop any names because, like I said, I like to keep that on the down low until I make the announcement. And I don't want to overflood myself and overwhelm myself where I don't want to do it. Because when I start to do that, then it's not fun,
I had to take a break for a little bit because when COVID hit, like I started doing sit down face to face. I would get invited to the Fine Talents homes and such. And I was starting to do face to face interviews. That's how Stirring the Pot became. And then COVID hit and I'm like, what the hell do I do now? So I started this. I figured out what was best for my needs because I use my phone for every single thing I do. May it be at the shows, may it be what we're doing right now. Everything I do is on my phone.
Got you.
So I had to figure a way that I could be able to record it, save it, and all of that good stuff. Right when I started figuring out what I needed or what I could use, my best avenue, I started reaching out to as many people as I could. In a 5-week period, Joey G, in a
Okay.
5-week period, I averaged 25 interviews a week, and I did 115 interviews in a 5-week process.
Got you.
That was ridiculous on my part. And it burnt me out quite quickly because I was doing, you come home from work, I'm doing 3 a night. Saturdays, I'm doing 4, sometimes 5. Sunday, I'm doing 4, sometimes 5. And then I'm doing it all over again that following week. So I did burn myself out. So I took a break. So this is kind of a resurgence of me kind of bringing it back a little bit because I took a few months off.
Hey man, that's understood. Like you never want to burn yourself out completely because like that's why like I like that's why I try to take my time with them. I don't want to like overbook myself and make myself go anxiety crazy because I don't want to start like forgetting who I had on or have this person booked for this day because I feel like if there's too many people at once, it's gonna make me forget and I don't want to offend anybody or possibly lose the chance to have them on my podcast in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I try to do one at a time. And once I got that one out the door, I want to go on the next one. And then, that's why I take my time with doing all these like podcasts. So, because I don't want to burn myself out. And I give anybody credit who can do that many ones in a day. But with how tired I get from my job working, I'd probably start getting cranky if I tried to do that many podcasts.
I was a walking zombie towards the tail end of that stint. I will tell you that.
Okay.
Joey G, you've been a fantastic guest for us today on a fine Sunday afternoon, and I really appreciate your time getting to know you because we did talk just a little bit. I did a Kincaid file, if you will, with you and your squad, the Stepdad squad. Don Kincaid here, Senator Ring, Kincaid files and all of that. We had some fun, but we haven't been able to sit and talk, and this was really cool getting to know you, man, and I appreciate you coming in and sitting down with me.
Same, Don. I would love to do this again, actually, because I don't mind. Like, I'll sit down and talk wrestling all day. Like, there's nothing more that I like to talk about than wrestling, other than maybe baseball too. But like wrestling and baseball have been my 2 biggest things I love to like get into. And like I said, I'll talk wrestling all day. I just don't like getting into like things like I don't like getting into like controversial subjects. Like I'm not a big politics guy, so that's why.
I do the neutral thing too, dude. I'm not into the drama thing. I'm not into all of this. He's the drizzling shit, or I'm not into that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
So, well, Don, I appreciate the time that you wanted me on the show. I had a blast. I'm definitely looking forward to doing this again.
Absolutely, I would love to do a follow up in the future. Before I let you go, please repeat the name of your podcast where we can find it, my friend.
My name of my podcast is the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G, not Jackie G. Like I said, Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. We try to do an episode once a week. Like I said, it'll be on Facebook. Just look the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. Instagram will be Sign Rip with Joey G. And Twitter, the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. Don, thank you for having me today.
This has been Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid. And my very special guest, don't call him Jackie G. It's Joey G. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Don.